Gloria. Mine is very short. I'm just going to introduce Hanuki to you. Hanuki Tauta. This is her solo exhibition. The third of Oliewenhuis's solo exhibitions. Welcome, Hanuki.
Thank you everyone for coming. It's nice to see everybody. I love stories, so I'm gonna walk around and tell the story, and then I'm gonna stand here and I'll talk further, and I'll open the floor for questions if you have anything. So one day, the king and the young princess were married. Welcome to the feast of the Oliewenhuis, because family is far more than biology, right? We all know that home wasn't built in a day, but then suddenly a home appeared where there wasn't one before. Who lives here? Asked the beautiful princess. The elephants in the room answered, the lovely Princess Candlewick, of course. She used to think that she's a make-believe wife. And she used to say that, last night I was kissed by an oh so handsome man, and he was a catch of the day. But meanwhile, the tailor stood in front of the tree, thinking that no one torments my family like me. Pray, sing for them, for they are at the ripe old age, say cheese. And at long last, the prince saw the beautiful princess and leaned over and licked her. And that's how we know, and that's how Jason and Medea, loved by the people, lived happily ever after. The end. But wait, what is so happy about the ever after? The amazing memories, of course. So yeah, that's the story came after I got all the works together for the show. So when Oliewenhuis put out, I can forget you about I guess about adrenaline. But anyway, when Oliewenhuis put out a call, I thought, I really want to pitch for this opportunity. And then I had the couple of works from my previous show, Catastrophe. And I thought, okay, I'll do an anniversary show for my Catastrophe show, which was also based about a happy ever after and relationships and weddings. But then some pieces sold and some pieces didn't at that show. And then I changed it. So for this one example, then I started to put a whip or a flogger for this guy, because he's married to the scapegoat. So he's keeping her intact. So that's how I started playing, and then I thought, what am I going to call this show? And I played this word game, so I thought, wouldn't it look good on my CV if all the solos start with you, like you catastrophe, eudaimonia, euphoria, and then I thought, euphoria is too short. And I remember when I was little at weddings, they sang to the couple, lang sal hy lewe, lang sal hy lewe, lang sal hy lewe in sy gloria. I didn't know if it happens in all wedding ceremonies. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to call it Euphoria and Gloria. But my mom used to say, she had a saying that when something was broken, she said, "Daai ding is in sy gloria." So I thought, I can play with that, because is marriages or are marriages happy, really happy ever after, or are they circus, is marriage a circus or a war zone or a fairy tale? And is it broken and can it be fixed? Is relationships, is the culture that we married, all the cultures are basically married now in South Africa. That's what I think, I don't know if I'm correct. But is it happy? Is it broken? Is it? So that was my thoughts round about the exhibition. And then, what else can I tell you? Do you have some questions? The smaller works on the cloth, that was a gift from a friend. She's also an artist in the wrist, Anne McLean. And that was her mother's heirloom. And I thought, okay, weddings also we used to have a trousseau chest. And it's real Irish vintage linen. And I thought, okay, I'll make a couple of trousseau pieces for the wedding. So that's in a nutshell. I can talk about each individual piece if you want, but yeah, does it make sense? Babbelak? So, dis 'n baie short walkabout, of ek kan dit lank uitdruk. Ek bedoel dis nou eers my tweede walkabout in my hele carrière. O ja, julle moet asseblief, sorry, you must please a lucky draw, put in your names, and then I'll shuffle it and I'll ask the curator Esther to do the draw, and then we'll let you know.
How did you start?
So, what, from the beginning?
Yeah.
I studied at Port Elizabeth back well, it's now the NMU. I used a lot of different materials. And then the rubber was basically, I was trying to save the rhino back in the day. Well, I got cross with the art world because at one stage I had 2 little boys and my work wasn't selling, and I thought, I'll join the Handcraft and Design Institute, and then I'll produce toilet squatted inner tubes because it's green and I can raise money for Kutsi and Kiosk. But then the financial advisor told me, you won't be able to save the rhino with your sales, so focus on your family. And then I decided, I'm going to take this further. Somebody asked to put the name of her daughter on the rhino. I thought, how I'm going to do it. And I stitched it, and then I realized I really like the stitching and the feel of the rubber. It feels like skin. All the rubber isn't the same. The tractor tubes are a bit thicker. Cars are going tubeless, but trucks. Oh, by the way, this is my husband. We're happily married, even if it doesn't look like it. And he's a qualified diesel mechanic, so he saws my tube as well, because tractors and trucks won't go tubeless like cars. Anyway, so where was I? When I met our deepest, darkest gallery people, they suggested, I previously did a photo work on small scale, and they suggested I blow the photos up, and it was so liberating because then I could work bigger and play more. And that's where I had my first show, but the masks came after COVID. So we live in a small town called Riversdale, and at COVID you really have to go to the shop with a medical mask. I decided I'll go in a party mask because I don't like it. And then the children in the shop were so scared of the tiger party mask I used to wear, and I realized this is amazing, the power of the mask. And that I started studying about all the cultures, and I decided I'm not going to stick to one culture and one type of mask. I'm going to have fun and explore. Oh, thank you for asking a question. You get confetti. Anybody else? Yes.
I just want to know a little bit more about the medium. The photographs that you take, are you the one who took the photographs, or did you take it?
It's a good question. No. My mother-in-law, I saw her throw out a wedding photograph of her and my father-in-law, but it was undamaged, and she wanted to throw it away. And I was like, no way, Jose, give it to me. So pray sick for them. It's my mother-in-law, my father-in-law. And then my husband's grandparents, sy oupa and sy ouma. So sometimes it's family photos, but it's also cabinet cards that I scan it in at Riversdale, email it to Orms, and they use archival inks to print it on a mountain board for me. And then I wait for the prints, I stick to the tube, and the mask comes when the prints arrive and look at the photos, I have to think, okay, what do I think this story should be? So, thank you for asking your question.
So, when I first viewed the work here, I immediately thought of the traditional view that women often get of marriage, especially as a kid. So this kind of gives the feeling of nostalgia. and as a child looking at like wedding day photos, thinking that it's going to be very princessy. So, with the kind of some of the ideas you put in here, how do you feel about some people feeling like it's a nostalgic view?
Nostalgia, absolutely, because it's vintage photos and I didn't take the photos, and some of the outfits is like amazing, and that tells a story in itself as well. And yeah, as you say, marriages are changing. Don't you feel? Because you get mixed gender, gay weddings and whatever. So it's changing, and I don't know if people still want to get married. I have a lot of friends. In my catalogue, I dedicated this show to my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, who married 3 times. She couldn't be alone. She always wanted a husband. And then to all my friends who chose not to get married, with love and respect, because it's a choice. You don't have to get married to have a happy ever after, I believe. Thank you for asking a question. Also, your question.
Yes.
Okay. You're getting very good.
Thank you.
I love the way that you are sort of in part of your exhibition and your character play. Could you perhaps give us a little bit of an explanation of your look today?
So yesterday I also had a face paint, which feels like a mask, and it helps me not to feel so nervous, although I still feel nervous. And that this black is like a camouflage, a war zone, and that is like a circus. So the question about the marriage, the flower crown, I like to feel like a princess. And last night I had a feather. I love army helmets, so I wrapped that up and attached feathers to it. So it's just, I used to dress up when I was little, and this, although I dress up at home as well, but then my oldest son at one station, I walked with him to school and he said to me, Mom, please wait at the corner. He doesn't want me to walk all the way to school with him. So it's interesting how it's perceived, dressing up, but I feel I hope I'm more approachable. Thank you for asking the question. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, it just gives me a little bit more of a tongue-in-cheek feeling for the whole exhibition. You know, one gets more uplifted by the way that you look.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. It's important to have fun.
Is there something specific about the flowers?
I used to do flower bouquets, then it was more specific onto the meaning, or I did study the meaning, because in Victoria era each flower had a different symbol. But for this, I didn't really focus too much on that. I just added sometimes an alien that's walking or something different, just to shake things up a bit. But, and that behind you is not embroidered flowers, that is from a doily, which I did into glue so that it doesn't frazzle. And it was very difficult to stitch that one actually, because I did sit up in, wat noem jy, squats. Onder het te gaan vast te werk. Very difficult piece, that one. Does it answer your question? Hello.
Hi. As a person who does textile study, we tend to focus more on, we are students, we tend to focus more on just fashion and just making other things like sewing. So how did you come about the concept of mixing photography and
Wow, that's a good question. I have to go back in my files. How did it happen? Well, the embroidery and the tube came first. And previously I collect toys as well. So in 2009, you'll see in that flip files the photo of, I also I love found objects. So I used found photos and then I attached the toys onto that. And then I think if I just carry on back then, I would have been probably farther in my career with this body of work where I combined the rubber and that. But it all happened so. Een volg op die ander ding. Ek weet nie hoe dit verduidelik nie. Yeah, it's not planned. Something just clicked sometimes, and you start working and you say, But the gallery taught me to blow up the photos, which I'm very happy that they because that was like a breakthrough, and being able to work on smaller pieces of tube but combining it. Yeah. So, and I like destroying stuff, so it's like an autopsy.
So when did you realize that it was so, like, what made you to keep pushing? Like, you know, when you start something, it can be a thing sometimes, or it can, like, not see as how you wanted it to be. So how did you, like, when did you realize that this could actually work out for you?
I'm still realizing it. It's not, I don't know, maybe I'll do something else, or do something bigger, or do something different, or combining all the photos and cut out the people. And I like playing. So I sit in my studio and I experiment, and while I'm experimenting, I'm not afraid of making mistakes. If I make, I destroy a lot of work as well. If they come home and they're not sold, then I don't have storage, so, take out the flowers and do something else with them. So, play is very important for me, experimenting. Does that answer your question? Ta-da! Hello!
I have a question. I asked you yesterday what you think about while you are stitching, but I would also like to know how long does it take to make something, say on average like this? How many hours do you spend on the stitching?
So that's a difficult question to answer because I work on more than one piece at a time. So I have a big flat table, and then depending on the size of the photograph, sometimes I have 3 pieces, sometimes I have 2 pieces. I look at the works and then I draw the mask for this one, then I figure out what I'm going to do with that one. So the process starts, when does the process start? From sourcing the photo, sourcing the mask. A body of work, normally I say to a gallery, it takes 6 months for me to prepare for at least 12 pieces. But then I work constantly. And so I work every day. I have a strict studio ritual, routine. I wake up, I wash the dishes, and then I've got a one house cooler. He goes on and just does his thing. I do the laundry if I have to. Mondays is my home cleaning day, and then from Tuesday to Friday, every day, at least from 9 till when he gets home at 5. Then I go and sit and work. If I don't know what I'm going to do, then I play my sketchbook, or I clean my studio, or restock it. And I listen to the radio and podcast while I stitch. So it takes I'll time it. I'm going to make a work and time it. Okay.
Yeah, I just think there's hours and hours in one work. Just imagine how long I would like to have.
I'll let you know. I'm going to post it on my blog when I start a new book. I'm going back on Sunday, and then probably by Tuesday I'll start new pieces, and then I'm going to time it first, and then I'll post it. I'm curious now.
Do you find it therapeutic to work with the stitches and work
Yeah.
with
Meditation, it's like meditating. It's a form of repetition, and your mind wanders sometimes. I won't deny that. Nou, wat ek sê, na jou gedagtes los. Ja, definitely.
I want to ask something specifically about the faces. Like, did the inspiration come from your passion from collecting toys and your love for animals, and also the use of color and shape as well?
Yes. So when sometimes you'll see I use skulls in some of my works. I use animals, hybrids. It's a fairy tale. So I read a book by Bruno Bettelheim that he uses for enchantment. And he was talking about in fairy tales you also get a hybrid figure type of thing. And when the head is a form of something else, it means that it's not, there's no, but there's a disconnect between the mind and the spirit. So it was quite interesting to replace it. And then sometimes I just, with the research with masks, I go through all and look at all types of masks, but I use different colors or I change it slightly, and then but be inspired by ones that I love. Last night somebody told me that this reminds him of a wrestling mask. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that. So now I learned something else as well, because that was actually an African mask. But I'm so curious. So that's really interesting. Feather confetti. Yes.
Sorry, just a fun question. How often do you prick yourself?
Constantly. Constantly. I've got a sketchbook page at home where I do blood drawings with all my stitches. But I don't use a thimble. My mother-in-law gave me lots of thimbles, but I find it very difficult to work with. Maybe it's different when you stitch on fabric, I don't know. But so I use a bigger embroidery needle that has a big eye, because I have glasses, I have to put the thread in the eye. And then I also use different types of embroidery thread. Sometimes it's thick, sometimes it's thinner, but it's mostly cotton thread. Does it answer your question?
I'm very, very intrigued by your exhibition.
Thank you.
Yeah, the whole body of work is quite interesting. When you were answering the young lady about the medium, you mentioned that you enjoy playing, you're not afraid of making mistakes and all that. I just want to find out, while you were busy playing around with this, did you maybe think that this is adding to your concept, or it was just playing around? Because for me, the technique and the medium can be conceptual as well.
Absolutely. That's also a very interesting question. Thank you very much. Sometimes I get a brief for a show, then I think before I do. Sometimes I just do, and then it happens naturally, and I don't think too much, and I just play, and then the concept comes afterwards. Like the story, like I thought what I'm going to do for the show, because this was very open. This was not, okay, then you have to do this now, or it must be this title, or so I could be playful what I do. So it depends on the project or the exhibition. I don't want to limit myself too much, because you could think. Does it make sense?
Yes, but for me, I find it really strongly contributing to your concept.
Oh.
Even if it maybe wasn't the intention, but I sense that,
Yeah, and actually, when I started embroidering, I did a lot of research about embroidery. I have this awesome book about past embroideries and how it was actually males back in the day, and about all this stuff, which probably adds to
the story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Do you want more photos?
Somebody makes it.
Yeah, people who makes new artwork. Because I've got a whole lot of photos I need to sort through, so I was just thinking, if you want, I can see what you've got. I got.
If you are willing, you know what I do with the photos, so if you are willing to...
No, but I think yeah.
Awesome!
Okay.
Yes,
There's no
please.
things.
You're cute.
Because it is quite, what to do with it. Sometimes you've got like copies and it's just like boxes and boxes full of stuff. It's actually so nice if someone does something with it.
Yes, please. I'm always on the lookout for stuff.